Welcome along. This is episode 10 of Getting Sweaty in Switzerland. You're probably getting sweaty at your own home, but in Switzerland is where the races are set. 2 minutes 44 seconds away from the grand finale. Looking forward to this one. Today we are cycling in the Tour des Alpes, between Nanda and Verbier. Sorry, so it's Verbier. Nanda to Verbier. In the Valois region of Switzerland. We're just south of Sion, the Rhone. Again, the Rhone flows into Lake Geneva and then on down through the Rhone Valley in France to the Mediterranean. We've been in this area over the last few nights and some great mountain stages too. And this one is another one with a nice little zigzag up to a ski resort. On this occasion, Verbier, not such a modern ski resort. It's been around a long time. So something a little bit different, but of course you'll be seeing stock RGT scenery, but it does look good going uphill, it has to be said. Now, what's this race all about? If you complete all 10 races, so we're looking for no mechanicals here, right? Make sure that your machinery is doing well. If you do all 10 races, and you can see there's 20 people who've done all 9 so far, there's another 5 that have done all 9, so there's 25 people who've done all 9. And if you do all that, you go into a draw for a prize money of £251. That's UK pounds. And I think all 25 should turn up tonight. I mean, if you've done 9, it must be heartbreaking not to do the 10th. And some of the people a little bit were not on your screens, and we have to sort of do a big shout out for people like Stephen Elliott and Anne Y, who have been absolutely marvellous, just hanging on in there, taking as long as they need just to stay in the game. Over 16 hours for those two, and that compares to 8 hours for John Beams, the current leader. We're under a minute from the start, but very quickly you'll see that the gap between John Beams and Daniel Cadiz, and let's face it, Daniel Cadiz is a great rider. So, you know, John Beams from Pedalers must be excellent. He's clawed out 19 minutes. Let's have a look at the route. So this is mainly uphill, but this is sort of one of these gentle things where you're going up the side of a mountain for a little dip into the valley, then back over out of the second valley. And this is where the zigzag up to the ski resort starts, and you can see it's that typical pattern of zigzags up the side of the mountain. We go just over the top of the ridge and then down into the Verbier, where we finish. So that's the route. It's nearly all uphill, so it's going to be quite painful for the riders. As I say, there's a little dip at the end, of course. Now we've got 41 riders online, which is great, and I can see Lee Marshall, John Beams is in there, Barbara Herrera, plenty of good names, and the people that we've been seeing. They're off. I'm waffling away about who's in it. They've gone off. I see a couple got stuck on the start line now. I hope those aren't mechanicals for anybody that's in that top 25. Let's keep our fingers crossed that everybody gets away. Paul Nichols up the front there, Barbara Herrera, John Beams, as you'd expect. John, by the way, from RGT. There's a little cluster forming, and the second cluster grouping up. So it is grouping up as we go into the first red zone. Now, you can see, as soon as it groups up, we hit the red zone, and look at it stringing out here. Now, when I refer to a red zone, we're looking at the bottom of the screen. Red means going up. The darker the red, the steeper it is. Blue means going down. The darker the blue, the more speed you'll get. And green is not quite necessarily flat, but it is the benign bits of it. So we're on with the first little red patch. We were sort of downhill from the start, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And this is Mike Aid up the front there in 5th place. That's all changed a little bit now, isn't it? But so what have we got? Lee Marshall, Daniel Cadiz off the front there. I can't believe that John Beams is in 11th, 35 metres behind Daniel Cadiz. It would be a miracle if Daniel could pull this one out. 19 is quite a lot to claw back. I mean, I think it'd be very unfortunate for John to get a mechanical or technical in this race, but I think that's the main hope. Mind you, there is a gap there. See John a little bit behind, but don't discount him. He has proved time and time again in this series how good he is. I hope Rebecca's watching, his wife. Give us a little message on screen if you're watching, Rebecca, and hi there. Fingers crossed it all goes well for John. Peter Wavel now taking up a little bit of distance, and OTR colours there, that familiar white, black and green. From Berkshire, Newbury end, I think. I often wondered, because I spent a lot of my youth at the other end of Berkshire, but yeah, it's a nice little town, Newbury, actually. We used to have a lot of friends down there one time. But hi there, Peter. Good on you. I think you've done nearly the whole series, so well done you. Yes, in fact, you're currently in 7th and you've done all 9, so you're well in for that £251 prize money. Now we're beginning to see a little break between 10th and 11th there. If you look on the left of your screen, a 50-metre gap between 10th and 11th, 25 metres from 1st to 10th. 10th is John Beam, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. He's got more, and you can see him on screen there in 10th place at the back of this little bunch. So that 25-metre gap, or is probably even less now, is nothing to worry about too much. But if you can see the gap between, if you go further back to Murray, that is now getting big. So I think we've got a select bunch in this 10 as we hit another red zone. If you look at the bottom of your screen, Tarot Sylvain, the Frenchman, they're pushing out 300 watts. I think these leader groups tend to average about, I don't know what their average is, but every time I kind of look, it suggests to me that to do well in one of these races, you need to be able to pump out 300 watts over the course of the race. Now, we're in, as I say, we're in the southern Switzerland, near the French and Italian border, south of Lake Geneva, just northeast of Mont Blanc and northwest of the Matterhorn, which is the mountain on the Toblerone packets, you'll know. Paul Fidel, OTR guys, go and keep going. Yes, you do that. As we see, we can see an OTR jersey right on the front. Uzanek, Choja, I think it is, isn't it? Lee Marshall just behind him. So we've got, sorry, that's not an OTR, that's a Moonriders jersey, I do beg your pardon. So, not sure where the OTR, oh, there is an OTR rider in there, isn't there? It's just over there, it's probably Peter Brookwavel, I should imagine. It's the OTR rider, yes, it must be. Okay, so we've got 27.3 kilometres a day, 1,141 metres of climbing. That's not as harsh as I've seen it on these courses. Remember, if you look at this one, there is a lot of blue on there. I mean, if you look at the downhill from the top of the what I would call broadly the second climb, the main zigzaggy one, there's a lot of blue in there, and I think that keeps the average down. Jonathan Stevens, 274, below my 300. My 300 average, although he's hitting 300 now. Just to thank you, Jonathan, for responding. And John Beams is sitting in there. Do you think he's just been a bit canny here and just sitting off getting the draft? Because he's quite comfortable there in 10th, isn't he? And yeah, it would be interesting. Daniel Cadiz on the front there, probably burning more matches from Santiago there in Chile. Probably burning matches compared to John. But as I say, I think the probability of pulling back 18-19 minutes today is pretty slim, but both will go equally into the draw, remember, for the £251. Anybody who completes all 10 races, and there are 25 people who've done 9 before today, goes into that draw. What will you spend it on? Bike parts, I should imagine. I'm sure I would. So who have we got in the top 10? We've got Lee Marshall here, Christophe Duran, Frenchman, pushing out again around 300 watts. This is what I would kind of expect. John Beams is in there too. Barbara Herrera. I think it's a fantastic name, Barbara Herrera. I mean, although it does make me think of Hanna-Barbera, the cartoon people. So Barbara Herrera with the Scotland flag. I'm quite sure why you're not watching. I suppose you need to do this to stay in the race, don't you? But you could have ridden earlier because Scotland are playing tonight. I think they were 1-0 up at half time with Nathan Patterson scoring the goal. So I think Scotland win tonight. They qualify for the first World Cup in many years. Disappointingly in a dry country for the Tartan Army, but there we are. So if you are listening, Barbara Herrera, as I say, Scotland 1 up. John Beams now, you can see him in the Zoom room. That's why his picture's on there. Always looking as cool as he, as cool as you like, and never giving the game away. Poker faced as ever, and nicely sitting in. He's moved up to 8, so he's not quite on that comfortable drafting position of 10th, or he's dropping back to 10th now. He's obviously listening to my words and treating it as coaching, aren't you? So John taking the benefit of the draft there. He snuck up to 9th as Barbara Herrera drops back. probably eyes on the football watching Scotland. Anyway, Peterborough Wavell currently in the lead as this bunch sticks together. Murray out on his own there in 11th, and you can distantly see the next rider behind him at 104 metres, Thunberg, and from Denmark. Yes, there we are. And John By the Way from the RGT, an RGT man himself in the race there. This little cluster, not massive, there's only 3 of them. It's Mike Adey making up the trio. And behind that, we've got Oystensen from 3R later on. John By the Way, 230 watts. I mean, he's at the front as well, and I think that contrasts the difference between the front group pushing out 300 watts, and or you're probably down to 250 in Group 2. But remember, you know, a lot of this is about finishing. Terence Harvest, though, in 14th, he's pushing out 300, just to dispel my theory. Here we are. Armoric, Slovenia, is currently in 15th place. Again, pushing out 300, and that's interesting because I wonder if what's happening is I wonder if that group that were pushing out 250, the By the Way group, might be getting caught, or perhaps they were just on a softer gradient. I didn't actually look. But to take more notice next time around. We look at the By the Way group, they're about 50 metres ahead of Sean Graham here, and Mike Adey and Oystensen from 3R. And Noble as well. So there's a group of 4 here. Mike Adey from Buckinghamshire. I'm not sure where from Buckinghamshire you're from, Mike. I'll have to find that one out. If anybody can tell me, I'd be interested in that. I go out riding myself in Buckinghamshire quite a lot, but again, it's a long county. It touches London at one end and is a long way away at the other. So I'll have to find out. Might add in this little group now. It's slightly strung out. See a couple of 3R riders in there in the light blue, white, red and black, along with Mike for OTR. Mike just drifting off a little bit there. Hope that's not too bad. Chris Shackleton is in 20th place. He's down at 224. Let's have a look at the gradient. +8. That's interesting because that's quite. I say that's quite steep. It's see Gabe behind Chris Shackleton, and 8%. I'd expect the watts to be a little bit higher than that, but another 3R rider. Gabe is again in the 200s when it comes to power output there. So that's slightly less than I would have expected. Christophe Duran is in first position. So David Ellis is pushing out 233 as well, and this seems to be the norm around this this cluster of riders on this stage of the race, isn't it? But we're back with the leaders now from the helicopter shot, and we can see that John Stevens is from Moon Riders is up front. Not for long, because Peter Wavell from Newbury has pushed ahead. Barbara Herrera from Scotland leading the chase. I'm not sure how effective this would be. You'll see that if you look at the bottom, they're on a downhill now. You look at the top, it's -7%. You can get away on descents. I've definitely seen that. But I think looking at the size of the bunch and the fact that they're staying together probably means that Peter's just going to get the benefit of a few metres on the descent, and will probably be soon back in the pack later on. Not a great gap there. We're only talking 10 metres, and as I say, Leroy, go for glory, everyone. That's right, Leroy. It's yeah, Peter Wavell. He agrees with you because he's got back with everyone, so they're all going to be together. Well done, Leroy. Thanks for putting in your comments. So 50, just hitting 60 kph on this descent. Descent levelling out a little bit. You see they're off the blue sections onto the green sections. A little bit of cobbles, that doesn't actually affect their riding. And we've lost a rider off the back, haven't we? Yeah, at number 10, the Roja has dropped off, the Spaniard. There we are, Galanjo, sorry. No, sorry, I'm still mispronouncing it. Galosha has dropped off. So we're down to 9 in the group. That's interesting on the descent, although it's just slightly going up again. Oh, it's gone down again. Um, Slightly undulating here. We are going to hit another couple of blue patches, and I am intrigued as to why Galosha has got dropped to the tune of 80 meters on a descent, and that to me suggests that there's something mechanical or technical gone wrong here. I don't think you would drop off to that extent. I mean, it's 200 meters now. I think Galosha's probably stopped and will probably get caught by the next batch, although that's 800 meters back to Murray. Let's have a look. I mean, that's disappointing. So we're down to 9 riders. Peter Brookwell doing another turn on the front. He's certainly putting his fair share of the work in, isn't he, with Daniel Cadiz sitting tight. Barbara Herrera just drifting off the back a little bit. Remember, we are on a descent now. It's 8-7%, down to 4% now. Should be able to keep on. Hopefully we'll retain that. Now we're on a little green section. We're about to hit a small bit of red, so there's another little bump coming up. I don't think this will be too long. Here we are, but 6-7%. It's still steep, not as steep as we've seen during the week. Barbara Herrera has come from the back of that bunch, the front of the bunch, as soon as we've hit an upward gradient. So Barbara Herrera, flying Saltaire of Scotland, and we'll probably have a look at, I think they're just about to kick off the, probably into the second half in the Scotland game, so we'll have to have a look at the score while we're commentating. I'm afraid it was 1-0 to Scotland. Sorry about this. Yeah, it's still 1-0 to Scotland according to my phone. And who have we got? So Rieseneck is now taking up the front for Canada. Daniel Cadiz just behind him, and Christophe Durand, John Stevens, John Beams up into fourth. John Beams has been quite explosive on these climbs when he chooses, and I think he does choose his moments from what I can see. Taro Sylvain in there, Lee Marshall, and actually Galosha is making up some ground. Oh, maybe not, sorry. That Lee Marshall seems to, this is getting stretched now, isn't it? Now Daniel Cadiz has actually gapped John Beams quite a lot on the steepest bits of climbs, but not enough to get away. And we see here the gap back to Peter Brookwell. I mean, it was 37 metres a moment ago, it's now down to 20. But nevertheless, it has strung out the pack, and if you look at Lee Marshall in ninth, that's 112 metres back from Daniel. So this group may not get together again, and if you look where they are on the bottom of your screen, this is the big blob. They're about to come up to a long red section. Now this will suit Daniel. It will probably suit John Beams, who's up into third and only 5 metres behind him. In fact, he's about to go round Daniel. I don't think Daniel will let him get away, though, if I know how these guys ride. So, we look at back at fifth, Durand. 3 or 4, about another 3 are probably going to get on during this climb. It's a great little view with the in the bottom left, Daniel going up this climb, and doesn't it look steep? Doesn't it look steep? 15%. Ooh, that will hurt. Now Daniel is rather good at these, and he is distancing the others. But as I say, we've seen this in previous races, but it's never been enough to make it stick. But this is certainly Daniel's forte. And remember, he does come from Chile, so he's probably been up some pretty steep Andes in his cycling career. Now this is going to be interesting. John Beams up into second, just Christophe Durand on his wheel. Still strung out, but not massively. I mean, we're only talking 22 metres back to Barbara Herrera, so not massive. That could have been worse. So John Beams and Daniel Cadiz, pedalers, riding together there. I don't know if this is teamwork or not, whether Christophe's riding for John or just riding for himself. See John in the picture there, looking as calm and cool as ever. His expression doesn't change, does it? He's a poker player, I'm sure. In third at the moment, but he's got Christophe Durand. Daniel Cadiz has pulled out 48 metres. That is quite a lot. And as I say, I don't think My instinct is that that's not enough really to make a lot of difference. But on the other hand, you know, we're at the end of 10 days racing, and we've seen this in Grand Tours, haven't we? Where people within days of perhaps glory at the end of a Grand Tour, and it just all catches up with them. So maybe, just maybe, this is Daniel's day. But remember, the gap in the GC, 18, 19 minutes, it's enormous. And in fact, as we say that, Porsche is back in the pack after dropping off, and it's now only 28 metres behind Cadiz. Mind you, the interesting gap is Christopher Durant and John Beams are 40 metres back. And remember, they're probably working for each other. I wonder if Christoph is giving John the benefit of the draft here. I might be wrong. Who knows? And well, for writing off Kalosha a little while ago, he's proven his worth up this, isn't he? I mean, look at that. He's caught Daniel. And as I say, that gap that Daniel's got, I think Christoph is towing John Beams back up. Either that or, and they're 12%. And these are the gradients that really suit Daniel's riding, in my view. Down to 10%, a little bit more palatable. But look at the visual distance. I mean, John Beams knows. He knows that he's still got Daniel within his sights and within his grasp. So this is only about halfway up this red section, as we can see here. So, you know, there's plenty to play out. And as I say, we don't know what any of these riders are feeling right now in terms of 10 days of doing this. And if you look at this 15.9% gradient down to 14.6 now, I mean, I look at that and wince, but they've been doing those sort of gradients night after night on here. I mean, this is a race for the toughies. And as I say, as much as we're focused on the front here, you really have to take your hat off to people like Annie Y, who and Stephen Elliott, who are further back. I mean, you're not going to see them on this front coverage, but they're further back. They're just sitting in to do the 10 races and go into that draw. And this is probably something that is a real challenge. It certainly would be for me. And I think when people like that, you know, can sit and do this 10 days on the trot with ridiculous double-digit gradients night after night, I think they deserve our admiration and applause, regardless of whether they're at the front of this. Of course, it's particularly difficult being at the front, as we see John By the Way and Sonnenberg on the 15% stretch. Mike Addy there back down at 17th for OTR. And as I say, I think you have to take your hat off, chapeau to every single rider that's done this. Steve Noble for 3R now in 18th position. Steve putting out 300 watts at 14%, and he's probably feeling every pedal stroke at the moment, I'd imagine. Woistenson, Norwegian, and he's putting out another one, 300 watts on his 14%, and likewise, as mountainous as Norway is, I suspect he's feeling every pedal stroke and wishing the top would come in sight. But in fact, they're only at the foot of this little section, and look what they've got coming up later. Clive Byam, 250 watts, probably more my level, Clive, and I still don't think I would like to be swapping places with you right this minute on those sort of gradients, and you're near the foot of that first red section. Stefan de Smet, and he is Belgian. He's in 23rd position, 250 watts. Again, this is more my sort of territory when it comes to output. Cadence of 66, and I'm sure their cadences are faster than that when they're on the flat. 24th, Jay Claw from Deutschland, and David Ellis from Nottingham just behind him. Joanna Clark, and Joanna doing very, very well just ahead of David Ellis, and if it's David Ellis, I think it is. He's a man from Nottingham, I believe. Another Ellis, we've got a Ellis as well. So all the Ellises are in the house. Elisa Ellis, I think Elisa is in the 25 that might go in the draw. Yes, she is 21st at the moment in the rankings. So go on, Alicia. This is really, really impressive. I think it's fantastic. You get in there. You get in there. Go for it. So as I say, David Ellis there as well. We've got Paul Nicholls, Builders Cruella. Oh, it's Dan Ellis. I do beg your pardon. So it's not the guy I think it is. It's Dan Ellis. So we take everything back. But well done, Dan. I still think it's. I think it's very admirable. Marcin Szczerbiak from Poland, and Marcin pushing out 240 watts there. He's from Wrocław in Poland, the chap I know. He's just ahead of Paul Nicholls, Builders Cruella, nicknamed by Derek Bucock, as far as I'm aware. Paul Nicholls, yeah, you can see the cartoon of Cruella de Vil. He's nicknamed because of his riding style, nicknamed by Derek Bucock, I believe, who are both in OTR, and that's James Ogilvy's team. I think Joe he was riding tonight, so I can't see his name on the list there. Maybe we've missed it out somewhere. So who we got here? Garcia from the David Garcia from the USA. I believe that's the USA. Don't tell me it's one of those. I know it looks. I think some of those other islands have got some very similar flags, but I'll assume it's from the USA. Schillebeer from the UK in 30th, putting out 183. Matt, well done, Matt. Very impressive. And get back to the Y family at the back there, and we can see Andy Y. This is Andy F. Oh, for Andy. We go back to, I think is it Steve Elliott? I think I'm not always great with the first names. Yes, it is Steve Elliott, who's steadily going up in 32nd place, and I still think it's amazing that anybody wants to sit in their garage and ride at 16% up a mountain this long. Annie Silik is next. Annie Silik pushing up at 15%, and we have the Y family here. I assume this is Hal Y and Annie Y. Now Annie Y is the one to watch here. She's the girl that we're giving all our respect to. So they go into a little bit of a downhill, 8%. And you can see if you look at the bottom how far back they are. But it's all about finishing for Annie. So you go, girl. You go for it. As I say, I don't know if HY is a husband, I don't know, parent, sibling, or whatever. But well done for giving Annie the draft. I think this is fantastic. Look at that. That's exemplary, isn't it? The way Annie's just sitting on the wheel of her counterpart. And yeah, well done for turning up and helping our Annie through all this. Now we go back to the front. So what have we got? John Beams at the front, Daniel Cadiz in third. And the man that I mistakenly wrote off a little while ago, Galorja, is sitting in there with them. Now they are over 100 metres ahead of Tarot Sylvain and Christophe Durant, the French pair there. So all that sitting in by John Beams was clearly just biding his time and waiting for the moment. I think this is the break. I think this is it now. I don't think anybody's going to fall back from those three. Certainly Beams and Cadiz are the two outstanding riders in this series. Galorja is quite clearly up to keeping with them at the moment, but look, they're just at the bottom of the big one. Now this goes on for a long, long way. If you just look at the bottom of your screen, you can see how far this goes. Now this is the zigzag up the valley. Galorja is going for it. Now, I'd be very interested to know why he dropped off earlier, because I think something went wrong. I don't think he deliberately cracked or anything like that. I think there was probably some sort of technical problem because the gap just opened up too much. But he must have put in one hell of an effort to catch the two stars of this series, Cadiz and Beams. And now he's tearing away. He's got 42 metres on them. But we are at the foot of a very, very long climb, and things happen on long climbs. You get to a point where you crack. Now, I'm assuming that Galorja is not in our top 25 riders who've done all 10 stages. So it might be fair to say, if I'm correct, that he is possibly slightly fresher than the others, because he hasn't been doing this for 9 days on the trot. As he ekes out 71 71 metre gap. But I might be wrong. Let's see. So let's see what he does. I mean, he's certainly eking out something that looks rather magical, shall we say, in terms of gapping these two, because these two are phenomenal. Yeah, that's quite a gap. We'll have to keep our eye on that. And as I say, I'm not quite sure how fresh he is, or what allows him to be that fresh compared to these two, particularly as these two have been put in big spaces to some very credible riders in this series. So let's keep our eye on that. That is a big gap, and we're doing this at quite a climb and a long climb. We shall see. Anyway, going back to 2 and 3 on the race, 128 meters. That's quite a lot. That's rather explosive, actually. That's either absolutely phenomenal or rather suspicious, I would say. Or he's just so fresh and everybody else is tired. We'll have to see what the result is at the end. I suppose that's one for OTR. Anyway, this is the real battle, and look, Christophe Durand is within view, as is Taro Sylvain. So maybe 4th and 5th. This French duo, they do like riding together, don't they? This is a bit of French, yeah, as I say, unity, I would say. These two often, although of course I think they do, it's every man for himself when they get to the sprint at the end. But yeah, the old French unity, camaraderie, and egalitarianism means that they are going to catch the race leaders, John Beams and Daniel Cadiz. And I think we're going to probably focus on these two now, because Colaggio is out of sight in phenomenal form, but there is a question mark as to why and how that can be achieved so far into this race on steep mountains against some very top riders. But we shall see. There it is, out on his own. But focusing back now, the big question is, what's going to happen? I think Durand and Sylvain are going to bring themselves up to Chilean and British series leaders, and so that's now 4 people in this group. They work together. Daniel Cadiz putting out the 300 watts that I would normally expect from these sort of caliber riders at this sort of gradient, at this sort of stage into a race. So it's looking quite natural for these guys at around 300 watts. Interesting to see what Colaggio's watts are, because they must be phenomenal, which is a little bit interesting. But there we are. So let's see. Christophe Durand just pushing off the front a little bit, but I don't think he'll make that stick. My feeling is that these 4 riders will probably make it pretty much towards the top as a group, and it will probably be sorted out on the descent, and I suspect that's probably going to suit John Beams best, but I could be wrong. Now they've got a clear 250 metres on anybody else, and I think, as I say, if we look at the positions from 2nd to 5th, that's where the race is going to be interesting. Looking back further, we've got Jerez and Sonberg, so we've got Poland and Denmark. In 12th. Jonathan, by the way, he's of course an RGT man, as you can see next to his name, RGT team. Actually works for RGT. And Graham just behind him, a couple of Brits. Not working together like the French, though, are you? Eh? Well, let's learn a bit from our cousins from France. Let's have a look. James Ogilvie. Hey, James, I was expecting to see you in the race today. Gala needs to look at its weight setting It is at the default 50k. I think he has forgotten to change it. We will have to disqualify, unfortunately, Race HQ. So you're hearing it first. Thanks, James. Thanks very much for chipping in and letting us know. That was rather explosive, and there was some doubt. He's going to be disqualified. So second onwards is where the race is. So I'll repeat that during the race. But thanks ever so much, James. Good of you to chip in and clarify that one. I think there was some suspicion here, but I wasn't quite able to say it. And Paul Bedell says, John, by the way, go my mate. Yes, you go, John. John, by the way, is not my mate, but he's done me some favours over time on RGT for various reasons, and therefore I'm going to treat him as a mate, even though he probably doesn't think he's my mate. So thank you very much for all the help you've given me over time, John, by the way. So just remember, if you've just tuned in, that the current leader, Galoja, is going to be disqualified for having the wrong settings. We're looking here at a picture of him. So the race really, the actual race leader is Christophe Durand, the Frenchman, leading from fellow French compatriots Ferro Sylvain, alongside GC 1s and 2s, John Beams and Daniel Cadiz. That's an all-star quartet. So what should we call it? Should we call it like a jazz quartet or something? The John Beams Quartet. If that, well, I would certainly pay to see this lot ride. They've been absolute stars. Remember, this is the last race. This is race 10 of 10. This has been a phenomenal series. I haven't watched every race, but I am telling you now, genuinely, this has been fantastic. Okay, this is a series that I've really enjoyed, and it's much more enjoyable, I think, sitting here commentating than I think I would find doing some of those 16% gradients. But I'll tell you what, if you complete one of these races, or if you complete all 10 and you've done all those gradients, then you will have a greater satisfaction afterwards than I could possibly hope for. John Beams from Worcester in the UK, out there, West Midlands area, I guess, and he is going to, I think, be the GC champion. I don't think Daniel is going to get away from him. And what a winner! Of the races I've watched, John has been absolutely superb. And when you see his face like there, he just looks so bloody calm. It's almost irritating that somebody can look that cool and calculated when they're pushing out this 350 watts. He's on 13%. He's got some top quality international competition. You know, someone from Chile and a couple of Frenchmen, and he's just looking as cool as he like. I bet he's not feeling it. 400 watts, fantastic. Well done, John. And as I say, I think a very worthy winner of this series. Now, Christophe Durand is pulling away a little bit here as we go up the zigzags, which is about to go around another one of the hairpins. Christophe pulling away a little bit. John responding there. He's making sure that he's not going to get dropped by the other two. But Christophe is definitely putting in a dig there. He's pulled out the thick end of 40 metres on the other two. That's quite impressive. Now, I think this is quite early to do this on the climb. All right, it's just dropped to 5%, and I think maybe the others are closing. They are. It's coming down to more like 20 metres. John's been distanced a little bit. Now, is that going to be? It's only a little bit. It's not a lot, but you know, we're not even halfway up this main climb. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you see that big long red section from the middle onwards. We're not even halfway up that as we go around another hairpin. This is the zigzag up to the top of the mountain, and then we go over the crest and down into the ski resort of Vivier. Now, Vivier is, I dare say that it probably looks like a modern ski resort, because that's what it is, but it's actually been a ski resort for well over 100 years, and so as I say, it's not one of these sort of suddenly sprung up ones in modern times. It was around for a long time, and I'm told that during World War One, and this is relevant because I don't know how this is celebrated everywhere, but I'm pretty sure in Northern Europe we all do it. It is Remembrance Sunday this Sunday, and we had November the 11th during the week, where we remember everybody from the wars. This started from World War One, and apparently in Vivier in World War One, where they interned either German, French or British troops that crossed the border into Switzerland, Those that need medical attention were taken to Verbier for treatment. So it housed a lot of prisoners. What I find fascinating is that they would have been, and Switzerland being neutral, they would have been German, French, and British. So I wonder how they all got on at breakfast in the mornings. Luckily they were injured, otherwise they probably all be slugging it out a bit. Now, John is 50 metres behind Daniel. This is the first time I've seen something like this, and I have seen Daniel drop John a few times, but John has always looked strong and pulled it back. But this time, at 16-15%, this is looking a bit grim. Now you can see where that big bowl, that big sort of light bulb sort of shape is on the profile at the bottom. That's John, and the two dots ahead are the other groups. Right? So one will be Largeau, and the other one will be with Daniel's group, the two Frenchmen. Now it goes slightly less red, so it's in a more orangey colour. And I wonder if John will make the most of those and pull some of that back. But the gap is now 90 metres. This is this is interesting. Great for Daniel, not so good for John. Daniel here on a 12% section, but it should mellow out a little bit. They're about to go onto the orangey sort of shaded bit of the profile, so it should drop down into single digits, as we see here at 9, 8, 7. So this is a bit where I think 5%. I think that's the bit where John will try and catch up, and that might prove decisive. Just remember though, even if Daniel does beat John, the probability of clawing back 18 minutes today is almost non-existent. The man in the hot seat today, remember that these races are run several times in the day and the general classification is sorted out. Nick Hugard, keep pushing Sonberg. Yes, you go for it. Scandinavian friends cheering each other on. Scandinavia is so nice, isn't it? And here we are. Thank you very much, Damon. The current fastest time, as I was about to say, was Kevin Cervelo, 1.05. I wonder if he's riding a Cervelo, or in fact, I wonder if that's his real name, and he just gives himself the name of the bike. I did go to a talk by one of the founders of Cervelo a few years ago. He told me the whole history of how they got the bike brand going, which was quite fascinating, actually. So fascinating that I bought the biography and read it when I got home. So if you want to know anything about the early years of Cervelo, I was going to say I'm your man, but actually there's probably better people than me. John Beam's here. Now, John is 150 metres. This is not the John Beams we've been watching, and I can see he's looking down at something. I don't know if there's something not quite functioning on his bike, but his face, you know, we usually have that. Oh, that's not sorry, that's not John, is it? It's somebody else in the Zoom room. Oh no, it is John. Sorry, I beg your pardon. No, he's back up now with that poker face. He looks like he's just putting a bit more energy into that now. Back up to 300 watts. The gap opening up though. I mean, it's got it down to 130, so it's maybe he's just catching up now. As I say, he's on that sort of 6% gradient, which suits him a lot better, I would suggest. He may be in a better position to tell you. I'm just guessing on what I've seen. And you can see actually from the names above the riders that he's only just the other side of that hairpin. Back down at 117. This is the John. Oh, this is John all over, isn't it? He's just like fantastic rider. Is he going to pull that back? Oh no, it's out to 140 again. Gradient goes up to 11. I certainly think the steeper gradients suit Daniel. But for Daniel, from Daniel's perspective, look at all that blue after the top of the mountain. I mean, after that, they're going to have to, descend. And if John's pretty good at that sort of thing. So I think this is far from over, isn't it? I mean, just remember, if you just tuned in, Galorgia at number 1 is going to be disqualified. I believe the settings are wrong on his bike. Keith Aitchison. Hiya Keith, thanks very much for getting in touch during the week. That was really nice. Brilliant to chat with you. Now, clarify one thing. When I was commentating the other night, I was intrigued that Keith was from Spain and Barcelona, but had a very British-sounding name. And he tells me that he's from Whitley Bay, up there in Northumberland. And although I've never been to Whitley Bay, virtually every Geordie I've ever known speaks very highly of it, and from what I've seen of it on the television, it looks quite a place. I'll have to go and visit one day. Love the northeast, lovely people too. So thanks very much, Keith, and yes, go Peter Brookwavel, and stay with the lovely rhythm. I wonder if you're talking about the music in the background. So Christophe Duran, yet again pushing out. He's got 33 metres on Daniel Cadiz. Daniel Cadiz not quite separating himself from Taro Sylvain, but he could be on the way to doing so. John Beams now 200 metres. I think this is going to. I think this is going to be the one racing. This is interesting because we're now probably 3/5 of the way up this climb. 200 metres. I don't know. I would fancy John on the descent, but you know, if Daniel makes this really stick with a big gap, it might not be enough for John. We shall see. This is going to be fascinating, isn't it? This is like one of those, you know, when you're watching on one of the Grand Tours and you get the breakaway. Daniel is effectively the breakaway, and we know there's that wily little master of John Beams lurking in the background, biding his time. So don't take your eyes off the screen. This when we get to that descent, it's going to be an absolute cracker. Doesn't the scenery look good when RGT stock scenery goes up some steep hills? 9%, and you get those wonderful little cliffs and all the hairpins. Well done, Damon, for getting the you know, the helicopter views of all this. It does. I know it's all drawings, but it kind of, you know, has that feeling of that whole, you know, Grand Tour thing when they get to the mountain stages, doesn't it? It looks absolutely superb. Well done to James Ogilvie for running all this. I think you've put on a superb series, James, and everybody else from OTR, who I suspect has probably made some contribution somewhere to it all. I've really enjoyed watching these and commentating on them, and I have to say, I think generally the RGT community is a fantastic community. Love every one of you. Slightly disappointed now that we've got a leader who's going to be disqualified. The gap is just too big to be true, but nevertheless, it's a race from second onwards in reality. I don't know if any of you ever go horse racing, but sometimes the bookies actually take bets on the race as if a certain horse wasn't in it, because it's supposed to be such a red hot favourite that it makes the betting a bit uninteresting, and so some bookies actually exclude horses from races, or at least I've seen that happen. I don't know if they still do. It's a long time since I've been at horse racing, but there we are. Christophe Duran now has carved out 100 metres. Christophe has shown his mounting credentials over this series, and I think that is quite impressive. Taro Sylvain and Daniel Cadiz still tight together, whether or not Christophe can hold this or not. Timo, hiya. Timo, back in the Moon Riders, and why wouldn't you? Nice to hear from you, Timo. Hope you're well, mate. Timo from Germany, of course, Timo Ackenbach, one of the RGT community, lovely guy too. So here we have Taro and Daniel neck and neck on a 9% gradient. I don't think either is attacking. I think they're both working their way up it at 10%. They're having a conversation about where they're going on holiday this year. I'm sure that's not true. So we'll see. 200 and yeah, I think this is now quite big, isn't it? 230 back to John Beams. John Beams in no danger, I think, of getting caught by Jojo Rustinek, John Stevens, Peter Brookwavel. Peter Brookwavel nicely sitting in there though, isn't he? He's reasonably assured of finishing in the top 8, which is a very, very good result. He's currently 7th in the series, and John Stevens here from Southam in Kent. Moon Riders, go on Timo, cheer him on. So yeah, I mean, Moon Riders, a bit of Brookwavel just behind, OTR. You can tell the Brookwavel from Newbury and Berkshire. It's not west of London if you're not British and you're listening to this, and Newbury is sort of halfway between Reading and Swindon, I would say. It's a town I visited a lot. It has a nice race course there, and just south. If anybody's ever watched Downton Abbey, the house they used to film Downton Abbey is just south of Newbury, I believe. I can't remember its name, but Anyway, that's where that was filmed. Lee Marshall now here in 9th position. He's a bit way off Peter, I would say, nearly a kilometre behind. Barbara Herrera, the Scot with the fantastic name. I love that name. That's going to stick with me. And quite rightly getting cheered by the crowd. Look at that, applauded past the advertising hoardings on the cobbles and round the bend. The graphics in this have been quite good as well. I do like the way that it's been built up with the OTR slogans and everything else along the way. Now, the leaders are getting to the business end of this climb, aren't they? You can see Daniel Cadiz there in 3rd from this heli shot, and obviously, as I say, discount Galaja in 1st position because he's going to be disqualified. So Christophe Durand now 140 metres. Christophe has probably got enough if he is he goes around just another one of these hairpins. Christophe has probably got enough now to win this race so long as the others don't work together too hard on that long descent. Now that long descent is quite steep and fast. You can tell that because the colour blue is quite deep. So I would expect that to be sort of in the 7-8% upwards range as they go down that hill. And if you remember when we looked at the profile earlier with the live mapping, he went over the mountain crest and it dropped quite sharply into the ski village as it came down. Meanwhile, just having a quick flash, I see that Scotland are now 2-0 up, and Nisbet has scored. No, not Nisbet. Oh, Charlie Adams has scored a 2nd goal. So Scotland will be at their first Football World Cup for a long time. It must be coming up to full time, so that's fantastic news. Barbara Herrera flying the Saltaire there. It's the only Scottish flag I've seen in the race, but and if you're listening to this a couple of days later, I do apologise, but it clashed with the Moldova-Scotland game, and so I have got one eye on the scoreline there. Well done Scotland with their 2 main strikers both out today, getting the crucial win. Back to the racing. This is going to be one for France, I think, because I think they're probably going to get at least 1st and maybe 1st and 2nd, maybe 1st and 3rd. It won't be the first time these two have finished on the podium together. Yeah, heroes, every one of you two, Dave. Yeah, I'm really working hard here, James. You have no idea. You know, I'm looking at the football score with one eye, drinking a drink with the other, and watching this fantastic event that you put on. I mean, mate, this is heaven. Thank you, James. It's absolute heaven. Yeah, I can't thank you enough, James, and Damon for asking me to do this. This has been absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So you see Daniel and Taro here going up 8.3% as they get into the business end of that climb. I think this is going to be thrilling on the descent. The big question is, can John Beams make up the ground now? That's a big gap. That's 340 metres now. I wonder if it's all catching up, you know, nine days racing in his legs. And let's face it, he has been emphatic in this series. John Beams has undoubtedly been the star, and you do have to feel for Daniel Cadiz, who's been absolutely brilliant and just beaten by a slightly better man. And it really does, you know, every time I see Daniel, all I can think of is Raymond Poulidor and the eternal second. But could this be Daniel's day? Could this be Daniel's day? This is the day that Daniel, you know, gets the big win. Probably not. I think he's probably not going to catch Christophe Durand, but he's certainly going to have his moment against John Beams. Can't wait for this descent. I think this is going to be an absolute cracker. Get in there, come on, boys. Let's go for it. I wonder how everybody's getting on further back. I mean, don't forget we've got to applaud everybody who's in this. I think that look at that view, isn't it? I mean, it's great scenery. I know it's not even real, but it's fantastic, isn't it? It's stunning. As I say, the first 25 in this all go into the cash draw, and I think, you know, wherever you finish in this, to do these sorts of races is brilliant. Wherever you finish, and we have to give big shout outs to Stephen Elliott and Anne White I know Amway's got what I perceive to be a family member turning her around today, and that's brilliant. Isn't that fantastic? This is about community. It's about help. And you think about it, and taken twice as long to do this as John Beams, and yet they will go into the prize money draw as equals. How good is that? And don't forget, I think James can probably give some details on the screen, but I think there's an event that you can tune into on the internet with the roundup of all the races and the decision and the draw as to who gets that money. James, correct me if I'm wrong on that, please. But yeah, that's something to do Saturday afternoon. Remember, it's international, so there's no football to watch. So here we go. Paul Nichols. Oh no! Oh, he's back though. Paul Nichols, Cruella. Cruella's had some cruelty at Tacanical, but he says, "Well, I'm back, baby." You go for it, Paul. Well done, mate. Fantastic stuff. So, look at Mike Addy now, the man from Buckinghamshire, piling it up 10% in OTR colours, 220 watts, and getting a nice applause from the all the crowd. And as I say, they all look summer, rather dressed for summer, don't they? And I suppose if you're from the southern half of the world, it probably is summer, but it's definitely getting colder here in Northern Europe. Steve Noble, 3R riders in that familiar kit of light blue, white, red and black. You can recognise that anywhere for 3Rs. And just looking at this now, where's John Beams? 460. I think it's definitely all over for. I don't think John Beams is going to finish on the podium. He's going to finish one slot off. Remember, it says fifth on there, but he's really fourth because Kalaga is going to get disqualified. Christophe Duran. Now, is this going to be one of those great solo breakaways? We're probably not giving him enough credit, are we? He's pulled out 250 metres. He's just about to go over the top. Now, he should, by getting over the top of 250 metres, he might actually be able to extend that a little bit just by being there first. But of course, everybody else will soon get onto it. I mean, I guess we're looking at the last little bit of the climb now. So we've got one more zigzag to go. Ah, Rebecca, you are there. And Rebecca, yeah. Why weren't you on here earlier, Rebecca? This is what we wanted to hear. I've enjoyed watching this tour. All the riders deserve full credit for completing this. Don't underestimate John. That's interesting. So, as I said, I was waiting for this, but there's a big gap, Rebecca. I'd never underestimate John because I've seen him claw back before. But I've never seen him claw back this sort of distance. So if you're right, Rebecca, that is going to be absolutely amazing. But we shall see. That is a big gap. Now, we can see that Christophe Duran is already on the descent and the others are just coming over it. So what's going to happen next? What will the gaps look like? We've now got... I'm just trying to read that. It's 500 metres. Neil Som. Oh, sorry, I didn't read that one. I don't know if that can get put up again. I'm sorry, I was looking at the time gaps. But the Neil Somberg. We won today, the second place at 1300, and racing here again. Wow. Oh, I didn't realise that. So if Neil Somberg is riding twice in one day, that is absolutely amazing. Came second in the 1 o'clock version of this. Remember, we were saying earlier that Kevin Cervelo did this in 1 hour 5 minutes. We're now 55 minutes into it. So, and remember, of course, yes, we've got 5.9 kilometres to go, but this is going to be, pretty heavy downhill stuff. As I said, looking at that, I said it would be 7 to 10% based on the how dark the blue is, and it's gone between 7 and 10% just as we're looking at it. Daniel Cadiz and Taro Sylvain working together there. John's down to 800 metres. Oh, go on, Rebecca. Go on, cheer him on. I hope you're in the same. I assume you're in the same room. Go on, cheer him on. Tell him to get going. It's up to a kilometre now. Ooh, on 12%, while the others are steaming downhill. Though, remember, he will get the advantage of the downhill in a minute. But whilst he's climbing and they're speeding down, John Beams having a quick look around there. Probably questioning everything I'm saying because he's probably sitting there going, "Don't underestimate me." As he turns one of the last hairpins towards the top, 7.5 kilometres to go. Remember, Christophe Durand was on 5.9 last time we looked. Slightly easing off the gradient. John Stevens is now just 100 metres behind John. I don't think John Stevens will catch John Beams. I think that's probably asking too much. Yeah, Brooke Weber just the other side of that hairpin, as you can see. Neil Sundberg in 10th, and this is about he's written this twice. I think I would probably be off the bike for a week if I'd written it once. To go past the ZMS advert, that's Taro Sylvain descending at 10%, getting 74 kph, which is why I'm wondering now, the other thing to look out for is, are we going to beat the 1.05 that Kevin Cervelo has put into the hot seat? Christophe Durand now with 3.7 kilometres away on 57 minutes. I think at these speeds, 72 kph on that dark blue descent. Okay, there's a bit of green at the bottom, so it's not necessarily going to sustain that sort of speed. But I think he's going to finish well within 105. So I think the hot seat time of 105 is go through a little collection of onlookers. Don't forget though, RGT does automatically brake you on bends like that. So speed drop there, you can see down to 65. So they're not maintaining the 70 kilometres per hour previously done. As Taro Sylvain and Daniel Cadiz still working together and probably getting the benefit of the draft, but interestingly, right, they're hitting 75, 76, 77 on this little stretch. 79, 80, that is fast actually. So I'm just trying to look now. I don't think they're going to get Christophe, because Christophe has just made up too much on that descent already. Now John is on the descent, and now what can John do here? How much? Yeah, that's too much, isn't it? I think they've just got away too far on the descent there. Daniel Cadiz is 3 kilometres ahead. So that means that basically John Beams to catch Daniel Cadiz is going to have to ride twice as fast. And given that the descent is nearly all the way to the end, I think that John is not going to finish on the podium today. I'm sorry, Rebecca, but he's definitely going to win the series. There's no way he's going to lose it. Well, it'd be virtually impossible now. Just make sure all your mechanical stuff and your technical stuff is working well, John. You've got the series, Pedlars, well done, and a worthy winner too. But despite Rebecca's optimism, I think this race is now going to be won by Christophe Durand, and I think second place is going to be fought between Daniel Cadiz and Taro Sylvain. So Christophe reaching the Flamme Rouge, 1 kilometre to go, and you can see that probably 2/3 of that is on deep blue descent, still at 62 kilometres an hour. The last bit on green looks downhill to me, but I don't think. In fact, the finishing line will be somewhere on that green section, so the finishing line will be before the end of the green. So I think Daniel's got a fast 60 kph plus descent to the finishing line. He's down now to the last 600 metres. I think the race is his. Well done, fantastic riding. 500 metres to go there as he passes the sign on the right. Christophe Durand for France is going to be today's winner. Now then, who's going to finish in second place? Sylvain and Cadiz still neck and neck. John Beams is going to finish fourth, and he's going to be a real hero in the series. And we watch Christophe Durand is rightly today's winner for a fantastic performance. Well done, Christophe, for France. You are today's winner. It says second on there, but the Galajo is going to be disqualified. Taro Sylvain and Daniel Cadiz. Now this is going to be a little bit of a tussle. Who's going to get this one? Daniel Cadiz finally beats John Beams, but doesn't get the win, and he's still got to fight for second place here with Taro Sylvain. Who's going to get this one? 300 metres. They're playing cat and mouse. nobody's showing their cards. I would say 200 metres is probably where somebody's going to have a dig. No, they haven't yet. Or is still no, nobody's still going for it. They get to that last bend, and Daniel Cadiz is going for it. I don't think Taro's going to bother contesting that. So Daniel does get himself a second place. It says third, remember, but the leader is going to be disqualified. John Beam's coming here. It says fifth. He's going to get fourth place quite comfortably in the end from Ruzinek, I would predict, from Stevens by the looks of it. John Stevens is the next rider behind. I don't think John Beam is going to let somebody 100 metres behind catch him on this descent. So, John Beam's, I have to say, I think everybody in the top four today has been immense, right? And John Beams is certainly going to be a very, very worthy winner by a long stretch as well. So, results are coming up. Ignore Elba Galaja, who is going to be disqualified. Christophe Durand is the winner. Now, we do have to wait a little to find out some of the sort of other results and the let's say the other results. I don't mean the other results. We do have to wait for James to put all the other results and factor in what the final table looks like on the collective times of all 10 races. James would be hot on that as soon as this race finishes. That's his evening sorted out. No going down the pub for James tonight. He'll be stuck there on spreadsheets sorting out the general classification order. So look on RGTDB later on this evening, and as I say, hopefully James will put something up on here. But there is something event. There's an event going on Saturday afternoon where everything will be announced, and the draw for the £251 will take place. John Beams now going through the Flamme Rouge, virtually assured of being general classification winner of Tour de Alps, and he looks back. Give us a wave, John. Fantastic, mate. You've been superb in the series and a very, very worthy winner too, as he comes home now in fourth place in the race, but the leader of the general classification, the star of the show over 10 days. And as he drops down on, isn't that amazing? The avatar drops down onto the handlebars as he sits up and takes a drink. But I hope there's some alcohol in the next drink you take, because you've done really brilliantly, John. There's 200 metres to go. Not a lot should go wrong now, should it? He says, touching. Yeah, there, here he is. He's got the, brilliant, what a touch. He's got the champagne glass in his hand as he goes across the line. What a star, yes. Santé. Well done, sir. Chapeau. Fantastic. Well done, John. Look, thumbs up, arms aloft. Don't forget to point to your sponsor on your jersey. That was brilliant. Well done, John. I like that bit. Peter Bookwevel coming in now on 8th. We've missed a few finishes here. Sorry, John Stevens, Jeja Rusnek. Peter Brookwevel from Newbury coming in next. Lee Marshall. Sonberg coming in from Denmark as well next. So what? Lee Marshall now. Still actually got quite a way to go. There's still 5 kilometres. That's interesting. If you look at the gap, I mean, if you just look at that, most of the field are still on that big long climb. Our winners, our first little clutch have all finished, first 4. And we've got Ruzinek, Stevens, Brookwevel, Marshall, Sundberg, all to come in, still 5 kilometres away, halfway down the big descent. And everybody else is still going up the zigzaggy mountain. And I think that just shows you how classy front clutch riders were. Daniel Cadiz from Chile, presumably got lots of mountains at his disposal. 2 Frenchmen, who I assume probably go and do a bit of climbing in the Alps and Pyrenees or Massif Central or Vosges from time to time. And our very own John Beams from the UK. And I suspect it's just all British hill climbing for you, isn't it, John? But I don't know. But you just actually stormed these mountains. Very, very commendable. As we look at Lee Marshall now, 4 kilometres to go. He's enjoying the downhill. I should imagine in this particular race, it's just an absolute joy. Paul Nichols, Cruella coming in, telling us huge congratulations, John Beams. I think we can all agree with that, can't we? as Lee Marshall takes on some cobblestones down the hill. Rebecca Beams, wahoo! Hey, well done to my wonderful hubby, super proud wife here, and so you should be, Rebecca. Absolutely, he's been phenomenal, hasn't he? Very proud. I hope you're all going out and celebrating big time. Well, maybe this evening, I don't know. It's still 7 o'clock, you can still get out, or maybe tomorrow's the big day. But I hope the Beams family are going to have a big celebratory event sometime over this weekend for what has been a phenomenal win, and very, very hard-earned, but well-earned and deserved. As we watch Lee Marshall go past the ZMS sign, some OTR adverts, one of those French kilometre signs that you get at the side of the mountains. Still 3 kilometres to go for Lee, but as I say, I mean, to me, it's I would imagine that the pleasure of finishing the series on sort of like a couple of kilometres of, well, it must be more than a couple of kilometres, mustn't it? Must be about sort of 5 or 6 kilometre descent. Must feel great, because you just know that there's nothing really hard to do. I'll say that if you are Keith Hutchinson, a Barcelonian man from Whitley Bay, Chapeau Lee, that's nails, hard as. Yep, hard as nails. So well done, Lee Marshall. As I say, it must be so relieving just to know that you're on downhill and you don't have to go up any of those mountains after 10 days of this. And as I say, not everybody's been in the race for 10 days. If you have been in for 10 days, then you'll be in tomorrow's draw, the prize money of £251. I'm not sure what the podium positions in the overall series will show, but I can almost guarantee that it will be Daniel Cadiz and, well, John Beams is the winner, Daniel Cadiz is second. I am suspecting that third place is going to be between Jonathan Stevens, Jojo Rusnak, Wouter Clays, perhaps Lee Marshall, and Peter Brookwavel, Timo Achenbach as well. But I don't know what the other people have got in the way of times in the earlier races. Neil de Sonberg riding for the second time today as well, so I'm sure they'll take the best of his 2 times. But all those 9 potentially, probably not Niels de Sonberg, I suspect, but certainly down to 8, and Timo Achenbach from Germany, all in with a shout, depending on what they've done today. And let's look at this. I mean, we've still got a situation where we've had 8 finishers now. Have we? No. I say that no. The results are showing Peter Brookwavel have finished, but I don't think he has. I think it's might be wrong. No, maybe he has. Yeah, that probably has finished. Sorry, I'm misinterpreting the data in front of me. By the way, I will say professional commentators do this, and even though we're all volunteers here on the RGT community, I was sitting there watching Blackpool versus QPR the other day, watched Ilias Chair have a shot on target, which is the Blackpool goalkeeper caught, and then the commentator spent the rest of the first half telling us that QPR hadn't had a shot on target, which was quite amazing. But I suspect the statistician was probably not looking when that shot happened. As we see Lee Marshall cross the line, well done, Lee. Neil Sonberg in 10th position there. He's coming round the last few. It must be so much pleasure just going downhill. Thing is, I don't know what everybody else finds, but when I'm on RGT, as Niels comes towards the Dane comes towards the Flamme Rouge, the last kilometre, that must be a welcome sight. I still pedal down the hills. I think you kind of have to. I'm not sure what happens if you don't pedal at all. Certainly, I think you can stop, but my experience is you just keep spinning the wheels. But the resistance is, of course, not too much. And you can see that Niels is out the saddle now, so he wants time. He's going for time. He knows that this could be critical in his position. I mean, he is 31 minutes behind Timo Achenbach, so I don't know if that is that critical. And he's he's a long way, over half an hour in front of Andy Gray, who's currently in 10th position, and Barbara Herrera another 7 minutes behind Andy in the actual classification before today's races. I say races, just remember this isn't the only one. Big wave from Niels. Well done, Niels. He crosses the line. Congratulations, fantastic. Anybody finishing in the top 25 of this has to be congratulated. Barbera Herrera is coming through for Scotland, and we shall just check whether the Scottish football team have delivered. They have 2-0, and Scotland are now through to the playoffs for the World Cup. So let's see if they can qualify for the first time in some people's living memory. Anyway, back to cycling. Barbera Herrera with the Scottish Saltire coming round now. Probably got a kilometre to go plus 1.3 kilometres to go. Just enjoying those little hairpins. Speed dropping down to 30 as it brakes. As I say, RGT does have automatic braking, but as soon as you're around that, see the speeds back up to 50k as Barbera hits the Flamme Rouge, gets some applause from the lovely ladies at the side of the road. I'm sure there were some gentlemen behind them, but he's riding so fast it was all a blur as it flashed past the crowd. Down to the last 800 kilometres. We've got these nice little signs at the side of the road for the sprinters to show how far it is to the finishing line. A nice little touch. And let's say we've got, we were saying earlier, I mean, Kevin Cervelo at 1.05 was in the hot seat today. The first 8 in this evening's race have all beaten the hot seat coming into this, which does tend to suggest that most of those, if racing against, and we're talking about the general classification, if their rivals did earlier races, then they should have all gained time on their rivals because they've all beaten the man in the hot seat for today. Barbera coming in, 90 metres to go. If you're listening, give us a wave. I'm not suggesting everybody is. Maybe not then. But congratulations, Barbera, and triumph for all Scots this evening with the football team, securing a very vital win in Moldova. We're not here to listen to my remarks about the football, and I do apologise if you are listening to this after the event, because none of that those flash scores will have been of any relevance after the event. If you're watching the stream, I do apologise, but as I say, some of us had to sacrifice watching that game to enjoy the cycling. Now obviously cycling was first choice, and it would have been anyway. John, by the way, RGT's man now 500 metres from the end. Keith Etchison, Jonathan Stevens gets third. Is that in I'm just are you talking about GC? I don't think yeah, I think you must be talking about I take it you're talking about the GC there, Keith. If Jonathan Stevens has got third, and I think that's probably about right, because he was 9 minutes ahead of Jojo Rusinek and has beaten Jojo Rusinek, so I think you're right, Keith, well spotted. I'm not sure what Wouter Claes has done today, but he must be outside the 1.05 because he wasn't in the hot seat. Wouter is on a very rich vein of form at the moment, but I'm guessing you must be right, Keith. So, well done, John Stevens. You've got third in the GC. We now know our top 3. That doesn't mean you don't have to watch tomorrow's show when they do the draw for the money, and I'm sure every one of these guys will be. Steve Graham coming in 14th position, 1 hour 15. Still very, very impressive. I have to tell you, I had a look at this route earlier on today, and I put it on Google Maps and pressed cycling, put the route in, and it said that it would expect you to cycle this in 2 hours 15 minutes. Our guys are cycling that in half of it, and I would suggest that even the riders near the back of this particular event this evening will thrash the Google Maps expectation that this takes 2 hours 15. Now I suspect the Google Maps is aiming that at the average person on the bike and not a racer, but nevertheless, Christophe Quentin from Clermont-Ferrand. Hi Christophe, great that you're listening, great to see you, mate. Yes, John, and congrats to all the riders, women and men. Absolutely, absolutely. Be interesting to see how Annie Wise getting on further back. Nice to hear from you, Christophe. Glad you're still around, and another one who's an important part of the RGT community. So Winston is next up, a 3 hours rider, two 3 hours riders. There's one behind him, although 2.8 kilometres behind him. He's in his last 500 metres, as we can see as he goes past the 500 metre sign, down the valley, enjoying the descent. Barbara Herrera, Terence Herrest, John By the Way, Sean Graham, all in within. Sean Graham just outside 1 hour 15, but as I say, that's an hour faster than Google Maps expects the average cyclist to do it, which gives you an idea of how good these guys are. And I dare say that professionals probably do it in probably at least I don't know, maybe 75% faster than this of the World Tour professionals. So, but this is very, very impressive, and some of the speeds they've been going up, those 16% climbs, I've just been in awe of, because I couldn't possibly do that. As Mike Addy and another 3R Noble cruising. I wonder if they're going to sprint against each other in the last little section. It'd be interesting. Still got 2 kilometres to go, so I don't think it's quite the moment when everybody sprints. Then Mike Idea riding for OTR, and Noble at 3 hours rider, currently in 16th and 17th position. I'm not sure how many riders are on the road. It says 20 riders online. I'm always a little bit confused about that, whether or not the riders who finished, who haven't logged out, are still counted in that. Perhaps somebody with a better technical knowledge of RGT than me can explain. But I think with 15 finishers, it's quite possible that 20 riders are the riders who are still out on the road racing. Mike Addy just about to enjoy passing through the Flamme Rouge with his compatriot Steve Noble, and behind them Chris Shackleton will be the next rider after them. He's still 2.5 kilometres to go. Gabe and beyond that, Dan Ellis still 6k away, and Ellis another 6k away as well. The riding together, so I assume they are teamed up. They've got the same jerseys as well, so that would suggest so. At 6 o'clock, as I say, yes, the gaps might be big, and you can see that most of the field are still on that long climb. There's even a couple of riders right at the back still on the very first red section. I'd be interested to know who they are. I don't know if we can find out who's right at the back on that earlier red section. Not even halfway through the course yet, but the gradients we've got and the amount of climbing we've got here. Well done, Noble and Adé, as they cross the line. S. de Smet, a Belgian from Flanders, guessing by the name, coming across next. Chris Shackleton will be 19th when he gets home. And as I say, the gradients that we've been climbing in this are phenomenal, and just to finish this, I think I'd be proud just to finish, put it that way. I don't think I'd be troubling anybody at the front. I'd certainly be one of those people on that big long red section from halfway onwards, and if I was still standing after 10 days, I would be absolutely in awe of my own ability, and that's why we have to give shout outs to Steve Elliott and Anne Y. Anne Y with I think what might be a husband, but certainly a relative, HY, there for company today to get through it. I assume it's probably an absolute pain cave in the Y household this evening. Chris Shackleton then putting out 227 watts despite the fact he's going downhill, which shows he's still making an effort. Riding at just under 50 kph as he comes through the Flamme Rouge. Remember the hairpin bend for Flamme Rouge will automatically brake you and drop your speed. So it's, by the time you hit the Flamme Rouge, as you can see, he's gone from 40 something to 60 something because he's got his speed up on that steep descent. The dark blue part of the map, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. So Chris now with just 700 metres to finish in 19th. Looks like Gabe's going to round off the top 20 before we go back to the next rider, which is Byam, and then quite a big gap back to Dan Ellis and the Ellis team, who have got three and a bit kilometres still to go. I do like the it's almost like a pyramid in front of the graphics has given us this pyramid ahead of us. I did say that this course was not far from the Matterhorn, which does have that shape, although not quite the straight lines that pyramid is showing, as Chris comes in and very, very deservedly finishes the race. Well done, Chris. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, Chris is one of the 25 people who are going to go into that draw. Currently 17th in GC. I say currently 17th, that's before the start of the race. Gabe coming in next in 20th with 700 metres to go, and dropping down into that onto the handlebars, hitting speeds of 65, but remember there might or might not be some braking on that bend, dropping it down to 50 before speed increases again. We enjoy the pyramid, which is not the Matterhorn, because I did say that we were northwest of the Matterhorn today, but it wouldn't even if these were real graphics, it wouldn't look like that, and it wouldn't be that close. And Matterhorn, if you're not familiar with it, is the mountain that's pictured on the Toblerone chocolate wrappers, and Toblerone is that shape because it was modelled on the Matterhorn. Look at that fantastic hairpin as Byam comes through it with the St George's flag, a UK rider, of course, just finishing off there, and comes to a dead end off that, doesn't it? Dan Ellis and A. Ellis both coming round here now. As I say, I'm not sure what the relationship there is. I wonder if A. Ellis, the W afterwards suggesting that A. Ellis is a woman. Yes, it is a woman, you can see her. So I'm guessing husband and wife, but I could be wrong. I'd say so Alicia Ellis, and Alicia Ellis is 21st in GC, getting helped around by Dan Ellis, who I suspect is making sure that Elisa makes it into the draw. Fantastic, 12 hours. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So 4 hours off. It's over 10 races up mountain after mountain. Well done, Elisa. That's fantastic. As I say, she was 21st going into this event. She's going to almost certainly now, barring the worst disaster you could have ever dreamt of, finish this race and put herself into the prize draw of £251 prize money for anybody completing all 10 stages. Elisa has completed all 10 stages. DLS, go on, be a gentleman and let her bypass you on the line. Go on. Well, it's 100 metres. Come on, let Elisa cross the line first. Oh, what you doing? Oh. I would have let her finish ahead of me. I really would. Elisa, that's fantastic. Well done. I think it's amazing. 12 hours going into this race. You just added an hour and a half onto that. So it's probably actually just under 14 hours overall. Jay Clark, one of the ladies here, Joanna Clark from Deutschland, coming home through. I don't think Joanna was in the top 25 who've done all the races. So nevertheless, though, an impressive time of 1 hour 25 and enjoying the downhill descent. 1.3 kilometres to go for Joanna, but she's going to finish very respectably, and that is still a performance to be proud of as she ducks down and makes the most of the descent heading towards the Flamme Rouge. But now 100 watts, probably taking it easy after all that hard climbing. I know I would be, and nothing really to race for. The next rider behind is 7 kilometres behind, so the positions aren't going to change, only racing for time. But as I say, I don't think Joanna's in the top 25, and I can't see her name in there, so I'm assuming that seconds are not going to make any difference to her GC position, and she's just enjoying the ride. She should be very proud of herself. Look at that, 126. And look at, I mean, if you think about it, it's I mean, ignore the first place. So when it, for example, and forgive me if I haven't been correcting these, it says that she's 24th. She's actually 23rd because Elba Galaga is going to be disqualified. We are told by the organisers for having the settings wrong on the system and pulling away rather miraculously earlier in the race, which caused suspicion, I suggest. So this is an amazing finish. Well done, Joanna. You should be very proud of yourself. I think I'd have been proud of myself doing one of these stages, let alone 10. Well done, James Ogilvie, for putting this one on. This has been an absolute cracker. It'll have to be repeated. It will definitely have to be repeated. So, who have we got coming next? Andy is next, and I'm not really sure what Andy's other name is. We've got Paul Nicholls just behind that. It's faux Andy. I'm not sure if it says F. I don't know if that F is telling us that faux Andy is female or not. You might be able to tell from the avatar if we get a close up at all. 200 watts, still going uphill. No, it's a man. So the F is probably just for the initial then. So I'm going to assume you're called Faux. I'm not really sure if that's right, or Andy's your first name or not. Maybe it's Andy Faux. Who knows? Anyway, perhaps somebody who knows him can clarify that on screen. I'm just going to call you Andy for now. So Andy with 6.6%, 7.8 kilometres to go, still on this climb, and you can see the massive riders. Still, there's 11 riders. It says online still. I'm sure there's more than 11 dots on that red section of the route. So I'm not quite sure why there's a discrepancy. There are definitely more than 11 dots on the route, and it's only saying that there's 11 riders online. There's a discrepancy there. Andy suffering here at 10%. Oh, go for it. 11%. Ouch, 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 ouch. Must be getting nearer the top though. I'm not sure quite where that kicks in. I'm assuming Andy is the front dot at the top of the climb. As we see, Paul Nicholls now is the next one along. It says 26th. Paul Nicholls will be 25th, and Paul Nicholls is almost a kilometre behind Andy here, and they're both probably about 8 kilometres away from the end. So a little while to go, and okay, I've been told that I think there's a glitch and the dots at the bottom of the screen are not moving, I'm being told. So so we can ignore the dots at the bottom of the screen for now and just look at what we can see. Spectacular views. Well, they're not real, but they're still spectacular, aren't they? If I'd have drawn that, I'd been proud of myself. So Andy's still going up, 7 kilometres to go, and 5% still suffering a little bit. The data on the side is for Paul Nicholls, who's about a kilometre behind Andy. So they're going to be a little while before they get home, but the reality is, once they get over the crest at the top of the climb, it's absolutely fast and furious and fun all the way down. So we have to sit in and watch Andy suffer, actually, don't we? I'm looking at 7%. I know I feel it on RGT at 7%. What these riders go through when they're going up 16% for sustained periods, and there have been plenty of sustained 16% parts of this climb. I really don't know, and I think it's testimony to the everybody who finishes, and particularly the winners. And the winners won emphatically today. Remember, this has been quite an emphatic performance by the front people. Remember, the first person across the line is going to be disqualified. So all the placings you see on the left-hand side of your screen, down to Jameson in 32nd, will be nudged up one. So you see Anne Y in 30th position, along with HY, who I'm assuming is her husband, but could be wrong, who's helping her around. Anne Y and Steve Elliott just in front of them Now those two are number 24 and number 25 in the people who've completed 10 races. And remember, they will go into the draw so long as they finish. And they're probably about 10k from the end. And they're not really, I suppose, that bothered about the time it takes them, just so much as they finish, get into that draw. Good luck everybody in that draw tomorrow. As I say, I think you can watch it online. I'm sure James Ogilvie can give us the information as and when he's got it. So we've got, if we look at Andy, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 riders to finish. Andy's on the descent now, so oh, actually, I think the dots might be working again now. Yes, they are. So the dots on the bottom of the screen are working again. We're with Paul Nichols, Cruella DeVille, and he's 8 kilometres away. Paul Nichols, thank you for the commentary. Well, thank you. Look, mate, Paul, if you weren't in this race, I'd have nothing to commentate. You're entertaining me, not the other way around, okay? And let's face it, you're going through more pain than I am, Paul. So, thank you, Paul, and thanks for taking part. As I say, Cruella DeVille. I'm still not 100% sure how you got that nickname. I did hear that Derek Pocock gave it to you, but Cruella DeVille heading for the Ville of where are we going today? It's Verbier, wasn't it? And Verbier, sorry. So Verbier in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, and as I've already mentioned earlier on, we are in southwest Switzerland, quite near the Italian and French borders, so we're just sort of kind of southeast of Lake Geneva, northeast of Mont Blanc, and northwest of the Matterhorn, the famous triangular mountain on the Toblerone packets, of which the graphics designers have given us a pyramid-shaped mountain near the finishing line. So you got that to look forward to, Paul. When you get to the finish, look out for the triangle. It's our animator's attempt at the Matterhorn. It looks more like Egyptian pyramid, to be honest, but there it is. Steve Elliott grinding his way around a hairpin. I tell you, when they bring steering into these things, we'll all go around the outside of bends like that, won't we? Go on, Steve. 120 watts putting out, heart rate of 149, cadence 54. Yeah, my cadence would be 54 on the climb like this, 10% round a hairpin. Ouch. But well done, Steve. Great riding, and well done for being in the top. Being in that top 25, sustaining it for all 10 races. Absolutely amazing. And here we have the Y's, and just leave. I think HY is there to help Anne, but Anne's clearly gritting her teeth and getting on with it all on her own, isn't she? She says, go, you go, girl, you go. This is, this is fantastic. Chapeau. Do you know what? Paul Nichols thanking me for the commentary, and I'm thanking you guys for riding it. You provide the entertainment. I just describe it. It's phenomenal what you guys are putting yourselves through. This is absolutely brilliant. And look at Anne go. And she's leaving. She's so. Here we are, Hell-Y, and he's probably sort of sitting there behind, watching her disappear up the road, going Hell-Y at the moment. She's phenomenal. Look at her. Here we are. Hal's been here to sort of, help her around this, and there she is, just saying, I can do this. I can do this. You go, girl. And well done, Hal, for chipping in and helping with what I presume is a family. And I'm going to guess your husband and wife, but I could be wrong. But yeah, good on you, Hal, for turning up and lending your support. And I hope that if Anne does win the 251 quid, you get a drink out of it. Probably a bottle of something I would suggest you deserve for doing this. So anyway, in the Cliff jerseys there, I'm not sure what team wears the Cliff jerseys, or whether you just pick those. So Jameson, we haven't actually featured on Jameson. He's in 32nd place and is, I suppose, soft pedalling his way to the finish, and why not? You're enjoying the views, aren't you? That's what you're doing. Julian Jameson, enjoying the views and going to show off to all his mates that he's climbed some very, very steep mountains today as he grinds around that bend on the inside. I'm hoping that it doesn't break you when you're going at that speed, because that would be incredible punishment, wouldn't it? For some reason, the cadence is not registering on the data for Julian. I suspect it's not very high, but he's still putting out a very commendable 200 watts of power. So I think that's to be lauded. Well done, Julian. Julian's Julian's got what, 10 kilometres to go, I think. Here's Andy. Correct me if your name's not, well, I know it says it's Andy, but I'm not sure whether Andy is actually your first or your second name. We're just going to call you Andy. Flamme Rouge, I think there's one breaking point between here and the finish. Other than that, you just storm home, Andy. 24th place. You probably, if you're not listening to the commentary, and here's the thing, not everybody is, Andy might actually get a pleasant surprise when he wakes up in the morning and finds out that he was a place higher than 25th. I think it's something to look forward to. And so the leader is going to be disqualified, we are told. That is the current standing, that the settings were wrong on the setup, and there was an explosive breakaway that was just sort of kind of a little bit suspicious. It's been looked into and the settings were wrong, so there's going to be disqualification in first place, which is a shame because this takes the gloss off the race. You know, as I say, hopefully it's only an accident, but I really do wonder why anybody would actually distort that on purpose. Well done, Andy. Brilliant. Thanks for being part of all this. And here he is, Paul Nichols, in the OTR kit, chin on the handlebars. You go for it, Paul. Actually, I have to say, I think when I'm at these things, I'm so out of breath, I can't even type a message into the Garmin. So I don't know if you're doing it using the voice recognition or not. I mean, that would be quite hard as well, wouldn't it? Puffing and panting. But thanks for your messages during the race. Schillebeer is 27th, just ahead of Garcia from the United States. Slightly pulling away, it looks visually, and I'm guessing 30 metres, 31 metres, 32 metres. No, it's fairly steady. I don't know, actually 35. No, so my visual perception was correct on that. 7 kilometres to go for these guys, and that'll be probably I don't know, about a kilometre of grinding, and then absolutely, I see Paul now enjoying the descent at 66 kph momentarily there, back up in the 60s again. But you're enjoying this bit, aren't you, Paul? And you look in the other screen and see poor old Garcia grinding up the mountain. It's this is entertainment, isn't it? It's, especially when somebody else is suffering all the pain. I think we're slightly over time. I think we were scheduled to go probably to 7:30. We have run it through to 7:38. I suggest what we might do, seeing as Paul has been so kind and contributed to the show, we might just watch Paul for a little bit longer. But let's have a look at the results as they are so far. Paul's got 3 kilometres to go and he's going downhill. So I think if you're okay with that, Damon, we'll carry on till Paul finishes, Cruella there, and then call it a day. So let's have a look at the results and look at that. Elba Garlaga under the hour but disqualified because that was just too explosive, and we understand the organisers have looked into the settings and a disqualification will happen. So second, but actually first, Christophe Durand, Frenchman, just pipping Daniel Cadiz by what in the end under a minute as it happens. I thought the gap was bigger than that, but anyway, so that's what 45 seconds back to Daniel Cadiz, who just picked the other Frenchman, Taro Sylvain. You remember he darted away at the finish and Taro didn't have anything there to challenge Daniel. So Daniel finally getting one over John Beams, but John Beams in 4th or 5th as it says there, the Pedalers, is the very worthy winner of the series. Absolutely immense. That's the first time I've seen John not actually stay with Daniel all the way. So credit to Daniel for doing that. But John Beams, an emphatic winner of the series, absolutely brilliant. Jojo Ruzinek coming in sixth position. Now, Ruzinek is one of the challengers for the series, and Jonathan Stevens. That's interesting. So Ruzinek and Stevens were well, the other way around actually. So Stevens was third and Ruzinek was fourth coming into the race, and they finished on almost exactly the same time, which means that Stevens is going to finish third. So well done, Jonathan Stevens. Moonriders, who's going to finish third in general classification. For the full lineup, you're going to have to wait for James Ogilvie to put that on RGTDB. Give us a couple of hours, and I'm sure James will slap that up there for you to see. Brit Bookwavel coming in a very, very impressive 8th position from Newbury there in Berkshire. Lee Marshall, Niels Isombo riding his second race today, and Barbera Herrera, a very impressive 11th from Scotland. Terence Harris just behind him, only 7 seconds or so difference. John By the Way from RGT itself coming in 13th, 1 hour 14. These are still great times. Sean Graham on the 1:15. I think that's very, very impressive. Remember, the hot seat this morning was 1:05. We've beaten that by nearly 4 minutes, or probably just over 4 minutes. And the right down to 14th place, only 10 minutes outside it. Very, very good riding. Evan Huistensen for 3 hours, 1:17. Mike Addy from Buckinghamshire, 1:19. Steve Noble, another 3 hours rider, almost on the same time, just being pipped by Mike Addy. You remember they crossed the line almost together. Stefan Schmidt, 1:19. 3 seconds behind them. Chris Shackleton, a little bit of a gap back to him, and then Gabe. Chris Byam, Dan Ellis with Elisa Ellis. Well done, Elisa. That's fantastic riding. I think they were a team. Elisa is the one that's contending for the top 25. So absolutely phenomenal. 23rd, Elisa. 1:25. That's 24 minutes off our leaders. But on climbs like that, that is nothing. That is absolutely brilliant. Joanna Clark next to the ladies, fantastic. And very impressive as well. Joanna, only less than 2 minutes behind Elisa there. Andy came in next, and as I said, we're going to wait for Paul Nichols, who's just crossed the line at 1:43 in 26th position. So I think that probably wraps us up for this evening. James will put up the results, as I say, on RGTDB later this evening. So keep your eyes on that. Keep checking in to see when he's got the results up. Be patient, because I know from running my own races, the West London VR races, which happen every other Wednesday at 7:30 UK time. They're short. They're nothing like this. They're short and flat. But I know that it takes me some time to collate everything, to get everything out there. So please be patient. James does a fantastic job. But it doesn't all fall into place. And remember as well, you have to wait for the last rider before you can collate the results. So he hasn't even started yet, ladies and gentlemen. So be patient. And then tomorrow it's the big one. We find out who wins that £251 prize. And good luck, everybody in there. I think to everybody who's ridden one of these races, it's been phenomenal. These are not easy races. If you've done all 10, that is immense. I think you all deserve £251. Good luck to whoever gets it. And then we have to salute John Beams, who's been phenomenal. And well done, Rebecca, for tuning in and watching and supporting all the way through this as well. I mean, that's good. When the family get involved. I mean, my wife would definitely not sit and watch me do racing online. And we have to say, Daniel Cadiz, for pushing John all the way. You've been absolutely brilliant as well. And then John Stevens in 3rd place, and Jojo Ruzinek filling out the places there. As I say, I'm not sure what Wouter Claes did today. I assume he rode earlier. I know Wouter's on some very good form in racing generally at the moment. But that's probably the top 5. Lee Marshall and Peter Bookwavel may be hoping that Wouter didn't do so well earlier on. We'll find out when James puts the results up. It's been phenomenal. Thank you everybody that's taken part. Thank you everybody for organising it. Thank you ZMS and Damon Bates for putting all this together. This has been brilliant. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I don't think I'm commentating next week. I certainly will be the week after on West London VR race 4.4, which is going to be almost dead flat, 16 kilometres, and will be fast and furious and nothing like this. I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Fantastic, well done, and thanks for watching on ZMS. See you all soon. Bye.